Hello, this is a little video just to show the results of improving the sensitivity on the MERG Hector. MERG is the Model Electronics Railway Group, a society based in the UK but with something around 1,400 members around the world for anyone who's interested in the application of electronics to model railways. The Hector, which is designed by MERG member Brian Knight, is a train detector which uses infrared. It has a little infrared emitter. It's typically placed in the centre of the track pointing upwards. Next to the emitter is a little infrared sensor. It transmits infrared and then as a train passes over the top detects the reflected infrared and thus you know the presence of the train. Brian very cleverly designed the code for the little PIC microprocessor in here so that it turns the infrared emitter on and off frequently and then measures the difference between the infrared at the receiver with the emitter on and with it off. That avoids spurious detections from other infrared sources. And then the output available on the edge connector here can either directly drive LEDs for a signal, giving red and green depending on whether it's occupied or not, or as we're using it here, we feed the outputs into MERG C-bus, which then is detected by the computer. The computer program then controls things on the layout as a result, and we're using it to set semaphore signals back after the train has passed. Those semaphores also controlled through C-bus using servos. So looking at Hector sensitivity here, as built with the standard firmware, we're looking at the red LED just here which shows when the Hector is sensing. And if I bring a piece of white paper in, up towards the Hector, detection is about there, which is about 2 inches as indicated by the instructions. My hand, which is probably less reflective than a piece of paper, is being detected about there, which is perhaps an inch or so. But then if we take the low gauge locomotive of the type we want to be able to detect, and I'm just going to pass that up and down with the detector at about sleeper height, what you see is a number of little pulses. What we find in practice is that if the locomotive is moving slowly, that's detected fine, but if it's moving very fast, the pulses are presumably so short that the debounce doesn't see it. And if we look at the locomotive in question, the construction is of an open chassis type, so really it's just going to see these axles and the motor as it passes over. And then if we look at the body, the really large area is the top of the boiler, which is quite some distance from the rail. So really we want to increase the sensitivity of the Hector a bit to be able to reliably detect that. Okay, here we have the Hector after modification. The threshold value in the firmware has been reduced from its default of 25. Tried various different values and ended up with a value of 8, which seems quite low, but we don't seem to be getting false positive triggers, so obviously we'll confirm that when we try it on the layout. So just trying it first with white paper, now being detected at about 4 to 4.5 inches, about double what it was before, and my hand now being detected at about 2 to 2.5 inches. And then what we'll do is we'll grab the locomotive we tested it with before, and now just running along at rail level it's a much more solid detection now instead of a few flicks on and off. So when we try that on the layout, we're hoping that that will now be reliable.